So our next topic is supply chain ethics. So ensuring the ethical practices throughout the supply chain. In that, ethical sourcing, implementing the policies and practices that uphold the moral principle, human rights and the environmental sustainability across the entire supply chain. And transparency and accountability, maintaining transparency in supplier relationship and sourcing practices, compliance with the ethical standards. If you are talking about the key ethical issues in supply chain, then the child labor. In that, prohibiting the use of child labor and ensuring the supplier adhere to the international labor standard and the local law protecting the child's right. And next one is the fair wages, ensuring the fair compensation for the workers, including wages that meet the living wages standard and providing the benefits such as healthcare and the retirement plan. Next is the safe working condition. In that, implementing the health and the safety protocol to protect workers from workplace hazard and ensuring the compliance with occupational safety regulation. Okay, in supply chain due diligence, in that the supplier audit and the assessment, conducting the regular audits and the assessment to evaluate the supplier ethical practices, including the labor conditions, environmental impact, and compliance with the social responsibility standard. If you are talking about the risk assessment, in that identify and mitigating risk of ethical violation or non-compliance within the supply chain, such as the forced labor, discrimination and the environmental pollution. Okay, and if you are addressing issues such as the child labor or fair wages and the safe working condition, in that child labor policy implementation, establish a zero tolerance policy against the child labor and enforcing a strict guideline prohibiting the employment of underage worker. And in the supplier requirement, requiring the supplier uh, to verify age documentation and comply with the international conventions such as the International Labour Organization, and we can see that the minimum age, we can refer the minimum age which is set by the International Labour Organization or the minimum age convention and the worst form of the child labor convention. And fair wages, living wages commitment to paying the workers fair wages that cover the basic living experience or expenses to ensure a decent standard of living for the employees and their families. And wages transparency, providing a transparency in the wages policy, ensuring the equitable compensation practice across different roles and levels within the supply chain. In safe working condition, occupational health and the safety, implementing health and the safety protocol, conducting regular inspection and providing the necessary training to prevent the workplace accident and the occupational hazard. In emergency preparedness, developing a contingency plan and emergency responses procedure to address the workplace emergency and ensure the safety and the well-being of the worker. Collaboration, stakeholder engagement, in that collaboration with the supplier, working collaboratively with supplier to promote the ethical practices and providing the support for capacity building and compliance with ethical standards, or engaging with stakeholders including the worker communities, NGO and the government agencies to foster a dialogue, address concern and promote a continuous improvement in the supply chain ethics. Ensuring the ethical practices throughout the supply chain is essential for promoting the social responsibility, promoting or protecting the human rights, and fostering a sustainable business practices, addressing issues such as child labor, fair wages, and safe working conditions required a proactive approach, including the policy implementations, supply audit, and the stakeholder engagement. By upholding the ethical sourcing standards, businesses can mitigate the risk enhanced by the or we can say that enhance the brand reputation and contribute to a positive social impact. In that, embracing the supply chain ethics not only support the compliance with the international labor and environmental standard but also promote the transparency, accountability, and the long-term sustainability across the global supply chain. Okay, so next one is the corporate social responsibility. In that, um, a business approach that integrates social, environmental, and the ethical consideration into company operation and interaction with the stakeholder. It is known as the corporate social responsibility. In that, if you are talking about the triple bottom line, balancing the economic prosperity with the social equity and the environmental sustainability to create a long-term value for the stakeholder. Okay, if we are talking about the key component of the corporate social responsibility in production strategies, in that environmental sustainability, adopting a sustainable practices to minimize the environmental impact, conserve the natural resources, and reduce the carbon footprint. Okay, social responsibility in that promoting a fair labor practices, respecting the human rights, supporting the community development initiative, and enhancing the quality of life for the employee and the local community. In ethical governance, upholding the ethical standards, transparency, and the accountability in business operation, governance practices, and interaction with the stakeholder. Okay, so if you are talking about the benefits of integrating the corporate social responsibility into the production strategies, then the first one is the enhanced reputation and the brand loyalty, building trust and credibility among the customer, consumer, investor, and the communities through the responsible business practices and the positive social impact. In risk mitigation, in that mitigating the operational risk, regulatory compliance issues, and the reputational risk associated with the unethical practices or the environmental controversies. In stakeholder engagement, fostering a meaningful relationship with the stakeholder, including employee, customer, supplier, and the local communities by addressing their concern and contributing to their well-being. Okay, if we are talking about some case studies of the corporate social responsibility and the sustainable production, in that the Patagonia Patagonia integrates the corporate social responsibility into its production strategies by prioritizing the environmental sustainability, promoting a fair labor practices, and advocating for the social responsibility in their apparel industry. Okay, and initiative, we are talking about initiative Patagonia Bond Wear program promote a product durability and repairability, reducing the waste and encouraging the customer responsibility. The company also support the environmental activism through initiatives like 1% for the planet. Okay, and next example is the Unilever. Unilever Sustainable Living Plan integrated the corporate social responsibility into its business strategies by committing a sustainable sourcing, reducing the environmental footprint, and enhancing the social impact. If we are talking about initiatives, Unilever focuses on the improving health and the well-being, enhancing the livelihood, and reducing the environmental impact through initiative like the sustainable agriculture, water stewardship, and the water reduction. Okay, and the last one is the Microsoft. Microsoft aims for the carbon negative operations by 2030 and the water positive status by 2030, focusing on the renewable energy procurement and the sustainable data operations. Microsoft invests in the digital skills, training, support diversity and inclusion initiatives, and promote the accessibility in technology to empower the community globally. Okay, if we are integrating the corporate social responsibility into the production strategies is crucial for business to demonstrate the commitment for the sustainable development, ethical practices and stakeholder value creation. Companies like Patagonia, Unilever and the Microsoft exemplify leadership in the corporate social responsibility by aligning the business objective with the social and the environmental responsibility. Through sustainable production practices, these companies not only enhance the operational efficiency and mitigating risk, but also contribute to the positive social impact and the environmental stewardship. And corporate social responsibility enable business to build the resilience, foster the innovation and strengthen the relationship with the stakeholder, ultimately contributing to a more sustainable and equitable global economy. Next one is the regulatory compliance. Compliance with the environmental regulation and the ethical guideline. So first one is the environmental regulation. Environmental regulations are laws and policies enacted by the government to promote the environment, conserve the natural resources and mitigating the pollution and climate change impact. Okay, regulation may include the emission standard of air and water quality, waste management guidelines, conservation measures for biodiversity, and the requirement for the environmental impact assessment. Okay, and the next one is the ethical guidelines. In that, ethical guidelines outline principle and standard of the conduct that business should adhere in their operation and interaction with the stakeholder. Okay, guidelines may cover fair labor practices, human rights, transparency, anti-corruption measures, and the responsible sourcing practices. Okay, so next one is the challenging an opportunity in meeting the global regulatory standards. So first we are talking about the challenges. In that, first one is the complexity and the variability. Navigating diverse and the often complex regulatory framework across the different countries and regions, each with unique environmental and the ethical standard. Okay, and if you are talking about the compliance cost, balancing the financial cost of compliance with the regulatory requirement, including the investment in technology, infrastructure, and the workforce training. Okay, monitoring and reporting, in that ensuring the accurate monetary reporting and the verification of the environmental performance metric and ethical practices to demonstrate the compliance. And in legal and reputational risk, managing the legal risk, penalties and the reputational damage associated with the non-compliance with the environmental regulation or the ethical guidelines. Last one is the changing regulation. In that, adopting a evolving regulatory landscape and the policy change, including the new legislations, updating a existing law and the international agreement. Okay, so next is the opportunity. Opportunities, first one is the competitive advantage. In that, demonstrate the commitment to the environmental sustainability and ethical standard, can enhance the brand reputation, attract the environmental conciseness customers and differentiate product services in the market. Okay, innovation and efficiency in the stimulating the innovation in clean technology, sustainable practices, and resource efficient process to comply with the regulation while reducing the operation cost and improving the efficiency. Okay, market access in that meeting the global regulatory standards and enable the access to the international market and enhance the business opportunity by aligning with the customer expectations and the regulatory requirement. Okay, in stakeholder engagement, building trust and credibility with the stakeholder, including investors, customers, employees, and communities through the transparent compliance and with the environmental and the ethical standards. And the last one is the long term sustainability, in that investing in the sustainable practices and compliance foster long term business sustainability, resilience against the regulatory change, and adaptation to the environmental change. Okay, so compliance with the environmental regulations and ethical guidelines is essential for business to uphold a responsible practices, mitigating the risk and contribute to the sustainable development goal. While navigating the challenges such as regulatory complexity and the compliance cost, organization can seize opportunity to innovate, gain competitive advantages, and build the stakeholder trust through the transparent and the proactive compliance effort, or by integrating the environmental stewardship and the ethical consideration into corporate strategies. Business can foster the resilience, enhance the operation efficiency, and contribute to a more sustainable and the ethical global economy. Okay, so next is the customer awareness and demand. Influence of customer preferences on shaping the eco-friendly production system. In the first one is the customer preferences. Shift towards sustainability, increasing the customer awareness and concern for the environmental issues such as the climate change, pollution, resource depletion are driving demand for the eco-friendly products and the sustainable production practices. Preferences for transparency, in that the consumers seek transparency in the supply chain, ethical sourcing practices, and the environmental impact assessment to make informed the purchase decision. Next one is the impact on the brand reputation. Business that prioritize the environmental sustainability and the ethical practices often gain a customer trust, loyalty, and the positive brand perception. In that, next is market trend raised to the eco-friendly product. Growth in demand for organic, fair trade, recycled, and biodegradable product reflect the customer preferences for the environmental responsible choice. Regulatory influence, government regulations and the policies promoting the sustainable consumption and production practices influence the customer behavior and the market dynamics. Okay, if we are talking about the strategies for educating the customer and fostering a sustainable consumption habits, in that first one is the education and the awareness campaign. In that, public awareness program, uh, collaborating with NGO, government agencies, and the education institute to raise awareness about the educational or environmental issues, sustainable lifestyle, and the impact of the customer choices. Okay, digital platform, in that use the social media, website, and the digital marketing campaign to educate the customer about the sustainable product and the ethical brand or the responsible consumption of the practices. In product labeling certification, eco label and certification, promoting a eco labels such as USDA Organic Fair Trade or Certified Energy Star and the Foster Stewardship Council certification to help customer identify the sustainable product and make it informed choices. Transparency initiatives in that providing a transparent information on the product packaging websites and the marketing material regarding the environmental attribute, ethical sourcing and the corporate social responsibility commitment. Next is the partnership and the collaboration. Industry collaboration, working with the industry peer supplier and the stakeholder to standardize the sustainable practices, share the best practices and innovate toward the more eco-friendly production system. In that, customer engagement, engaging customer through the interactive companion events and initiatives that promote a sustainability, encourage the behavioral change and foster a community involvement in the environmental stewardship. Okay, incentive and reward, in that promotional discount, offering a discount or incentive for purchasing a eco-friendly product, rewarding the customer loyalty to sustainable brand and encouraging a repeat purchase. Education workshop, hosting the workshop, webinar and event to educate the customer on the sustainable living practices, recycling, upcycling and reducing the environmental footprint. Okay, so consumer awareness and demand play a vital roles in shaping a eco-friendly production system and driving a business towards sustainability. By understanding and responding to the customer preferences for the transparency, ethical sourcing and the environmental responsibility, companies can innovate, differentiate their brand and capture the market opportunity. Strategies such as education campaign, product labeling, industry collaboration, and incentives for sustainable consumption contribute to fostering sustainable habits and empowering the consumer to make the positive environmental choice. So, driving sustainability not meet only the market expectations but also contribute to a long-term business success and the positive societal impact, advancing to a more sustainable future. Next is partnership and the stakeholder engagement. Collaborating with the stakeholders to enhance the sustainability. So, if you are talking about the importance of stakeholder engagement, in that the first one is a diverse perspective, shared responsibility, enhance the impact. Okay, stakeholders including the NGO, government, communities, customers, supplier and the employees bring a diverse perspective and expertise to sustainability initiative. Okay, in shared responsibility, collaborating with the stakeholder, foster or shared responsibility for environmental stewardship, social equity and the economic prosperity. Enhance the impact. Engaging the stakeholder enable business to address the complex sustainability challenges, leverage resources and create a meaningful impact on the local and the global scale. So, type of stakeholder in that NGO and the advocacy group, partnering with the environmental NGO and advocacy group to advocate for a sustainable practices, influence policies and implement the conservation initiative. Next one is the government agencies. Collaborating with the regulatory bodies and the government agency to comply with the environmental law, shape policy framework and access funding for the sustainability project. Communities and the local stakeholder, engaging with the local communities to understand their need, mitigating the environmental impact, and contribute to the social economic development through employment, education, and infrastructure project. Next is the building partnership with for shared goal in the eco-friendly production and the social responsibility. Strategic alliance and collaboration. Joint initiative, forming alliance and with industry peers, suppliers, and competitors to advance the eco-friendly production practices, share the best practices, and innovate towards the sustainability. In research and development, collaborating with the academic institutions and the research organizations to develop a green technology, sustainable materials, and innovative solution for the environmental challenges. Okay, public private partnership in that shared resources, uh, partnering with the government and the non-profit organization through the public private partnership to invest in the sustainable infrastructure, renewable energy project, and conservation efforts. Okay, policy advocacy in that working together to influence policy development, advocate for the regulatory reform that support a sustainability goal and promote a responsible business practices. Next one is the community engagement and the empowerment. Capacity building. Empowering the local communities through the education, training, and the skill development program to promote a sustainable livelihood and the entrepreneurship. Social impact investing in that collaboration with the impact investor and we can say that organized to fund the social enterprise, support the fair trade practices, and enhance the economic opportunity for marginalized the group. So, partnership with stakeholder engagement. Or we can say that partnership and the stakeholder engagement are critical for business to enhance the sustainability, foster innovation, and achieve a shared goal in the eco-friendly production and the social responsibility. By collaborating with NGOs, government, communities, and the industry peer organization can leverage collective expertise, resources, and the network to address the environmental challenges, promote the ethical practices, and create a positive social impact. Strategic alliance enable the business to integrate the sustainability into the core business strategies, build the resilience against the global challenges, and contribute to a more inclusive and the sustainable future. Embracing a collaborative approach not only enhances the organizational credibility and stakeholder trust, but also drives innovation and the unlock new opportunity for the sustainable growth and the development. So next one is the innovation and adaptation in the sustainable practices. So or we can say that innovation in the production method to improve the sustainability and the efficiency. First one is the advanced material and the technology. Green chemistry. Developing the eco-friendly materials and chemical that reduce the environmental impact and enhance the product sustainability. Biodegradable and recyclable material, innovating with the bioplastic or bio-based material and recyclable packaging to minimize waste and promote a circular economy principle. And next is nanotechnology, applying a nanomaterial for water purification, energy efficiency, and the environmental remediation to improve our resource use and reduce the pollution. Energy efficiency manufacturing, renewable energy integration. In that, adopting a solar, wind or other renewable energy source to power the manufacturing operations and reduce the carbon footprint and the lower greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, energy management system, in that implementing the smart grid efficiency, energy efficient equipment and the energy management software to optimize the optimize energy use and enhance the operational efficiency. Okay, water and resource management, water recycling and the conservation, implementing the water efficient technology such as the water recycling system and the low flow fixtures to conserve the fresh water resource and reduce the water consumption. Resource efficiency, in that optimizing the raw material use, reducing the waste generation and implementing a closed loop system to recover and reuse the material through the production system or production process. Now, adapting to technology advancement and market trend in the sustainable practices. So, first one is digitalization and the industry 4.0. Internet of Things, integrating the IoT devices and sensors to monitor the energy consumption, optimizing the production process and improving the resource efficiency in the real time. Okay, big data and analytics, in that using big data analytics to analyze the environmental impact matrix, identify efficiency opportunity and can make the data driven decision for the sustainable operation. So next is the circular economy principle, implementing cradle to cradle design principle to expand or extend the product lifespan, facilitate the repairability and promote the product for reuse and the recycling. Okay, reverse logistics, in that developing the efficient system for the product take back, recycling and repurposing for minimizing waste and close material loop in the supply chain. Okay, market trends and the customer demand, sustainability certification and label, responding to the consumer preferences for the eco-friendly product by obtaining a certification by USDA organic fair trade and displaying the eco label and the validating sustainability practices. Okay, and in ethical sourcing, focuses on the transparency in the supply chain, ethical behavior practices and the responsible sourcing for the raw material to meet the consumer expectation for the corporate social responsibility. So, we can say that the innovation and adaptation are crucial for the business to enhance the sustainability, improve the efficiency and align with the technology advancement and the market trend in the sustainable practices. By investing in advanced material, energy efficient manufacturing and the water resource management solution, organizations can reduce the environmental impact, optimizing the resource use and achieving the operational excellence. Okay, implementing of digitalization or circular economy principle and responding to the customer demand for the sustainable product enable business to stay competitive, foster innovation and contribute to a more sustainable future. Okay, continuous innovation and adaptation not only driven business growth and profitability but also promote the environmental stewardship and the social responsibility, promoting or positioning the company as a leader in the sustainable development. So the next is the risk management and the sustainable production. Managing risk associated with the unsustainable practices and the reputation damages. In that, first one is the identification of the risk. Environmental risk. Identify the potential environmental impact such as pollution, habitat destruction, resource depletion, climate change, and climate change associated with the unsustainable production practices. Social risk, recognizing the risk related to the human rights violation, labor abuse, community displacement, and the negative social impact caused by the unethical, irresponsible business practices. Okay, next one is the reputational risk, impact of the reputational damages, understanding the consequences of the negative publicity, consumer backlash, loss of trust, damage of the brand reputation resulting from the environmental controversy and the social irresponsibility. Okay, financial implications in that, assessing the financial risk, including the reduced market share, decreased sales, increase the operational cost, and potential investor and the stakeholder disengagement. Okay, so if you are talking about the strategies for mitigating the environmental and the social risk in the production system. So first one is the adopting a sustainable practices, environmental management system, implementing robust environmental management system to monitor, measure, and mitigate the environmental impact throughout the production lifestyle. Compliance with regulation, ensuring compliance with the environmental laws, regulations, and standards to avoid the legal penalties, fine, and the regulatory sanction. Okay, next is the social responsibility program. Ethical sourcing, establishing a ethical sourcing policies and the supplier code of the code of conduct to promote a fair labor practices, human right protection, and the community engagement in the supply chain. Community engagement, engaging with the local communities, indigenous group, and the stakeholder to address concern, build the trust, and support a sustainable development initiative. Risk assessment and management, in that uh, conducting a thorough risk assessment to identify, evaluate, and prioritize the environmental and the social risk associated with the production process, supply chain, and the business operations. Risk mitigating strategies, in that developing and implementing the risk mitigation strategies, contingency plans, and crisis management protocol to respond effectively to the emergency, mitigating impact and minimize the reputational damages. Okay, transparency and communication, stakeholder engagement, engaging with stakeholder, including the customer, investors, NGO, and the regulatory authorities through a transparent communication, reporting, and disclosure of the environmental and the social uh, performance metrics. Sustainability reporting, publishing the annual sustainability report, disclosing the progress on the sustainable goal and demonstrating the commitment to the corporate social responsibility and the sustainable development. So Effective risk management in sustainable production required productive identification, assessment, and mitigating of the environmental and the social risk associated with the business operations. By adopting a sustainable practices, comply with the regulations, and implementing the social responsibility programs, business can minimize the environmental impact, enhance the community relation, and protect against the reputational risk. Transparency, stakeholder engagement, and the robust risk management strategies enable the organizations to build the resilience, foster trust, and achieve a long-term sustainable goal. Embracing the responsible business practices not only mitigating the risk but also create opportunity for innovation, for competitive advantages, and the positive societal impact, driving the sustainable growth and contributing to a resilient global economy. Next is the measuring impact and performance of the people friendly and the eco friendly production system. Matrix for evaluation impact. In that, the first one is the environmental impact matrix. Carbon footprint. Quantify the greenhouse gas emission CO2e associated with the production activities, transportation, and the supply chain using the standardized methodology, that is the GHG protocol. Energy efficiency. Monitoring the energy consumption and efficiency improvement through a metrics like green energy or energy intensity. Okay, and the energy performance indication. Water footprint. Assessing the water use and efficiency, including the water consumption per unit of production and water stewardship practices to manage the water resource sustainability. Okay. Next is the water management. Measuring the water generation, recycling rates, and waste diversion from landfill to promote a circular economy principle and reduce the environmental impact. Next is the social impact matrix. In that, the first one is the labor practices. Evaluating the worker safety records, employee the turnover rate, and adherence to the fair labor standards, including wages, working hours, and the workplace conditions. Community engagement. In that, assessing the contribution to the local economy, community development project, and the stakeholder satisfaction through the survey, feedback mechanism, and the social impact assessment. So, health and safety. Monitoring the occupational health and safety performance, incident rate, and compliance with health and the safety regulation to ensure the worker well-being. Yes. If we are talking about the uh, reporting framework, sustainable reporting, uh, annual or periodic report that disclose the organization performance goal and initiative related to the environmental, social, and the governance factor. Okay, include the key performance indication, progress toward the sustainable goal, case study, and the stakeholder engagement activities to demonstrate the transparency and the accountability. Okay, standardize or standards. Adhere to the international reporting framework such as the Global Reporting Initiative standards or the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board or standard for the comprehensive ESG disclosure. Okay. Measuring impact and performance in the people friendly or the eco-friendly production system is essential for evaluating a sustainable efforts, identify areas for improvement, and demonstrating the accountability to the stakeholder. Environmental impact metrics such as the carbon footprint, energy efficiency, water footprint, and the waste management provide insight into the resource use efficiency and the environmental stewardship. Social impact metrics assess the labor practices, community engagement, and the health and the safety standards to ensure the ethical business conduct and the positive societal contribution. Reporting frameworks such as sustainability report and the carbon footprint assessment facilitate the transparency, compliance with the standard, and communication for the sustainability achievement and the challenges. By using the standardized metrics and the reporting framework, business can effectively track the progress, benchmark performance against the industry peer, and driven the continuous improvement toward the achieving the sustainability development goal. So, future trends and challenges in the sustainable production and the consumption. In that, the first one is the uh, circular economy adoption. Moving toward a circular economy model that promote a resource efficiency, waste reduction, and the reuse recycling of material to minimize the environmental impact. Okay, increasing adoption of the closed loop system and product life extension and the sustainable material sourcing to achieve the uh, circularity. Okay, technology innovation advancement, integrating technologies such as artificial intelligence or Internet of Things and blockchain to optimize the resource use, enhance the supply chain transparency, and improve the environmental performance. If we are talking about the applications using the artificial intelligence to predictive maintenance, okay, IoT for the real time energy and monitoring, and the blockchain for the transparent supply chain and the traceability. Okay, green finance and investment. uh, Green finance, growing the interest in the green bond, okay, or we can say the sustainable investment fund and impact investing for the renewable energy project, sustainable infrastructure, and the eco-friendly initiative. Okay, investment criteria focuses on the environmental, social, and the governance criteria in investing decision making, influencing the corporate sustainable strategies and the market behavior. Customer awareness and demand, in that shift in the preferences, increasing the customer demand for the eco-friendly product, ethical sourcing, and transparency in the supply chain, influencing the market trends and the corporate sustainability practices. Influence on the uh, millennials, or we can say that the generation, new generation, younger generation, driving demand for sustainable brand, influencing the product innovation and the marketing strategies. So now come to the point, challenges in the sustainable production and the consumption. First one is the climate change adaptation. Mitigating and adapting to climate change impacts such as extreme weather event, sea level rise, and changing a perception pattern affect agriculture, water resources, and the infrastructure. Resilience strategies, implementing the climate resilience practices, technology and infrastructure to minimize the vulnerability and build the adaptive capacity. Resource scarcity and the efficiency. In that first one is the water and the energy. Addressing challenges related to the water security, energy efficiency, and the sustainable management of the natural resources to reduce the environmental footprint. Okay. Uh, Circular economy, overcoming barriers to the circular economy options, including the technology limitations, economic incentives, behavioral changes toward the sustainable consumption and production pattern. Next one is the social inequality and the equity. Ensuring the fair wages, safe working conditions, and labor right across the global supply chain to address a social inequality and promote a inclusive growth, economic growth. Okay. Community engagement, balancing economy principle or economic development with the social equity, respecting the indigenous right and fostering a community resilience in the sustainable development project. So, the future of sustainable production and consumption is shaped by emerging trends and circular economy practices, technology innovation, green finance, and shifting the customer preferences, change adaptation, resource scarcity, and social inequality or require collaborative efforts. Innovation solution and proactive strategies for business, government, and the civil society by embracing the sustainable practices, leverage technology advancement, and promoting the inclusive growth. Stakeholder can address these challenges or achieve a emotional stewardship and emerging trends and protective management of the challenges are uh, essential for advancing the sustainable development goal and ensuring a sustainable future for the future for generation to come. So if you're talking about some uh, summary or key point on leveraging the professional competence on the for the human universal human order, in that professional competence refer to the skill, knowledge, and ethical principle that the professional apply in their respective field. Okay. And ethical practice and leadership, collaboration, and the stakeholder engagement,